Hi friends, hope you are doing well. I am Dr. Ganguly. Welcome to my channel. So today we are going to discuss something which is often discussed in the context of universities and the academic system, and this is sometimes known as affirmative action, and in some countries it is also known as quotas. Now what has happened is that over the decades gone by, there has been some kind of discrimination which has been done by the university and the academic system, and so the governments and universities are trying to make amends for these injustices which were done in the past. So what happened is that various political scientists, sociologists and so on, they created certain ways by which these injustices of the past could be remedied, and one of them was known as affirmative action. Now under this particular concept, you let certain people from certain races, certain nationalities, genders or caste as the case may be, enter the university with a somewhat relaxed academic merit criteria. So you do some relaxation in terms of the grades required, in terms of the marks required, in terms of the age limits, in terms of the SAT scores required, GATE score required, JE score required, depending on whichever country you are in. And most of the countries around the world are doing this in some way or the other to encourage people from the marginalized sections of society to come into the academic system. Now, why did this creep into the academic system? If we look at the comparison with institutions around the world, we will see that universities and colleges grew out of what can be considered as theology. So essentially in every society there is some kind of institution which is linked to religion. Could be church, could be mosque, could be temple, could be synagogue, could be gurdwara, or whatever the institution may be. Now what happens in these bodies, you will always see there is some kind of discrimination which is done. For example, priests may not be women in many cases, they may not be people from certain caste, they may not be people from certain races and so on. Sometimes these things are codified in writing and sometimes they are not, they are implicitly followed. So some of these discriminatory practice came into the academic system also, and so you will see that in the times gone by, many people were not admitted to various universities. For example, black people were not given admission to various US universities, and even Jewish people were not permitted at a certain time, and certainly women were not permitted in many departments at some time in the history. So in different countries this also led to incidents related to caste and so on. So as modernity spread through the system, people tried to make amends for some of these sins of the past, and so most modern government tried to remedy these by aggressively recruiting those who were left behind in the past. So now let us look at some positives and negative of this affirmative action or quota concept. Now first let's look at the positive, then some of the negatives. So the first positive is that it has led to an increase in social justice, and you will now see emergence of various new leaders in society who are from these previously disenfranchised groups. And so you see a lot of leaders who are black in US society. In the Indian society you see a lot of leaders from the lower caste of the population who were able to get some college degrees, and then they often got law degrees and came into the political system. Now the second positive is that the universities have started looking more like the general population. So the university populations often tended to have people from only the particular group which was dominant in society. So in the case of US it was white people, in the case of Indian society it was people from the upper castes, and now this has been reduced to some extent, and so in many US universities you see many black professors, or certainly a large amount of women professors for that matter, and even people from the Latino community. In the Indian society you will also see various professors from the different castes who are now present in the different university system. Now the third positive aspect is that it helped the students from the disenfranchised and marginalized community feel more comfortable when they were at the university previously. If there was only one black student in a class, this person may have felt uncomfortable, but now there are some more students, so there is generally some feeling of belonging to the institution. Same thing can be said about the presence of professors and staff from different communities who are now there in the universities everywhere. So these were the positives. So what was the negative, which led to a lot of negative feedback, and finally it led to the Supreme Court essentially turning down affirmative action, that is in the US system? So I think one of the negative was that many people felt that they studied very hard, they worked very hard, they had great GPA, they had great SAT scores, GRE scores for that matter, and so on, and they could not get into the universities of their choice. So many times people have big dreams, such as they want to get into Harvard or Cornell or some of these top universities, and then they find that they are not able to get admission to this university, but somebody else from a different community is able to get admission and sometimes even full scholarship. So this led to a lot of angst and resentment among segments of population, particularly among the white people in USA and the Asian people in USA, because they are not classified as minorities who are underrepresented in the university system. So remember that though the Asian community is a small minority in the US, they have a disproportionate number of seats in the various US universities, so they do not get any advantage from the affirmative action system. So this includes people of Chinese descent, Korean descent, Japanese descent, Indian descent, and so on. So these people were also quite upset, along with the white people and also the Jewish people. So some of them filed lawsuits against these issues, and so the Supreme Court has ruled that universities cannot directly use affirmative action in USA anymore. But in case a person wants to make the case why his diverse background helps, they can say the same in their letter of application. So most of the universities have a requirement that you need to write an essay, and so here you can mention as to why your particular background has made you a very suitable candidate for the university. So these are some of the realities as far as affirmative action is concerned. Now you can give your feedback on the comment section as to how it has impacted your case. Certainly if you are somebody who is applying to a US university, whether from US or from abroad, this may play some role in your selection process, particularly if you are applying to the top schools. Now, one of the facts is that people should not put so much importance to the top schools, because this is a recipe for rejection and a recipe for getting disenchanted at a very young point in life. I would suggest people could do their bachelor's degree from more normal universities, and then they can do their master and PhD from some of these top universities where not too many people are interested in going, and so the effect of affirmative action is much less. And these things are of course very political issues, they are also very divisive issues, but they are important issues in society. So we always have to make a balance between the need for merit and the need for some kind of social justice. But do remember that the A students are not always the most successful in life. It is often the B students who are the most successful in life, and this you can see around yourself. So the fact that you always need to have the A students may not be always correct, unless you are working in research and only doing things which are academic in nature. So this was my take on affirmative action. Please give your comments on the video as to what is your feeling about affirmative action. Has it impacted you positively? Has it impacted you negatively? If you are in any country such as India, where quotas are actually imposed by law as fixed percentages, also give your comments about how this has positively impacted you or how it has negatively impacted you, and what are your thinking about how to balance the requirements of social justice versus merit. So I'll end this video here, and I will see you in a video sometime soon. See you then.